So tonight we're really talking about how to find the right dealer. So I want to talk about how to find the right dealer, and I want to talk about finding not just the right dealer, but then also finding the right price. And of course, Ford news. So we'll talk a little about the Maverick, the Ford Edge, the Mach-E, Ranger if we have time. And anyways, I want to do a future episode on the upcoming Ranger, but I've got some really important don't be fooled information that I will have more towards the end of the video, and then we'll get into a whole Ranger talk if there's time. Maybe we'll just switch over to Q&A. So near the end, when we start talking about don't be fooled, well, you can start putting in your questions. Marie's here to cover them. So Marie and I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We're here to help out because these days it can be pretty tough buying a vehicle at a dealership. So, and I know Marie has had experience with some bad dealerships way before this whole 2020 problematic that we had. So there's some dealerships that, they robbed her by trying to present, special edition models when really they had just, what was it? They put
It was just a sticker. They said it's a special edition, it's carbon, but it's not a real carbon. It was just a sticker. So I'm like, yeah.
Carbon fiber stickers, and then they wanted, several $1,000s more. I've known of some dealerships back in the day to have their own, and they still do this. They have their own limited editions. So some dealers will say, hey, you know what? Because we're a Shelby dealership, we can actually build and we're authorized to do these Shelbys. So in my area and all around, different dealerships do this. You'll have like Shelby GT350s, but on an '05 when there was no Shelby GT350 edition for that year. And it's just really, they picked out their mags, and sometimes it gets done really well and is worth the money, and sometimes it's just a huge ripoff. And we're here to talk about all the things you need to know so you don't get ripped off, so you don't get robbed. So this is actually, Maddie, why don't you tell us how we kind of came up with this show and how it's based on...
Yeah, so for tonight, because it's a live, we know you love when we respond to your question. Sorry, I have a rough day. I speak all day, so now I'm not able to do it. And we note some questions that we didn't have the time the last time to answer. So we'll start with this question for Johnny. So how do we know the dealer is a dealership?
Yeah, how do you know if it's a dealership or a good dealership? That's a great question. And I've been getting this question a lot lately, and it's really relevant lately because we're about to either convert. So if you're here because, don't leave if you're going to be getting your order converted from a 2022 or a 2023, or if you're lying to yourself and you're saying, oh, I'll still get a 2022. At this point, you're probably, for most models, you're getting a 2023 if you don't have a build date yet. That's for most cases, a huge majority. So this is important information for people who are converting. It's also important information for people who are in the process of shopping a dealership. And if you're in the process of being converted from a 2022 to a 23, you might even want to consider putting in a second order at a second dealership, but shop your dealership. So let's just get started, put the pedal to the metal, and jump right in, because, well, otherwise I'll just ramble. So step one, we've got 10 steps here. Step one, don't be shy to ask over the phone. So I wouldn't even waste my time going into the dealership right off. I'd make that phone call, and over the phone before booking or while potentially booking your appointment, this is your first negotiation, really, you could say. Is it worth my time to go to the dealership? And while you're potentially booking an appointment, you're going to ask them straight up. Don't be shy. Ask them if in writing they will sell at the internet price and interest rate. So the current MSRP and interest rate. Ask them, will you sign that you're going to sell to me at MSRP or whatever the internet promotion is, and I'll need to have that signed. If they answer yes to that, well, then you can go ahead and book an appointment. And yeah, we've gotten questions like, well, I looked at 2 dealerships around me, and in both cases, they both said just, no, we can't do that. And often I've heard ridiculous excuses. I have heard, well, we can't do that because it's an order, so there's no contract to sign. No, it's not a full contract that needs to be signed. It's a purchase or lease offer. And every dealership can print off a purchase or lease offer. It's can totally be done. If they're not willing to do that and you can't find anyone that is willing to do that, well, then the next step is to at least get them in writing, either print it off or they put it in writing, and then the sales director signs saying that they will sell to you at MSRP. That's step one. So I'll let you.
Yeah. Perfect. So for the other question, what else can be done to guarantee the price?
Yeah, because it'd be nice if it was just as simple and a little 30-second talk on my end kind of resolved everything. There's more. There's actually more in regards to getting your guaranteed price. So you need to ask them straight up. Still, get as far as you can on the phone, unless they really push that live meeting. But ask them, will you lock in the first available 2023 price and sign in writing that you will sell at that price? Because already this is a negotiation. A dealer might be comfortable with saying, you know what, I'll sell to you at, as long as it comes in as a 2023 and I can build you a 2023, I will sell to you at the 2023 price when the vehicle comes in, and I'll sell it to you at whatever internet promotion is going on. Well, already that's actually can be potentially a pretty decent deal. Now the top deal, the best deal possible, obviously, would be, I've got 2023 pricing available. I will order the vehicle at this 2023 pricing and I will lock it in. If the dealership has no idea what locking in the price is, well, I'd say for me, minimum condition is I want to pay the future price of when the vehicle comes in. So like when I was looking at a Porsche, they actually have you sign a sheet making sure you know that you're not getting it at today's price. And that's really relatable to Ford, because right now for a lot of Ford models, you can only build a 2022 online, and in many cases, there's no 2023 order guide out yet. So if they sign on that 2022 sheet that it's that price, well, then it only makes sense that the dealership actually says, actually straight up says, we can't do this price, but we do promise that first available 2023 pricing and promotions, I will lock in that price. That means you've really won. You're doing great. Now the next step, and you're still doing pretty darn decently if they say, you know what, I'm not going to lock in that first price, but I will completely lock everything in. I'm going to sign right here promising, legally promising my signature, or ideally the director's signature, I should say, saying that they're going to sell it to you the price of when it comes in, MSRP, and whatever promotions are going on.
Perfect. And is that all we need to know about the price?
Again, I wish it was, but no, there's more. You really need to get them not just to verbally promise, because a lot of places, there's an expression that I don't quite have off the top of my head, but basically what's in writing sticks, and what's just said verbally, even though it's supposed to be legally binding by law, well, it's easy for them to just be like, well, that guy doesn't work here anymore, or, oh, we misunderstood each other. So don't just get that promise in writing. So get it writing and promise. The minimum goal, and it's a pretty darn good goal, is to get no dealer markup and no market adjustment fee. So get them to write that down, that there'll be no dealer markup, no market adjustment fee, that there won't be any add-ons. And if they have, I don't mind if a dealer that has $300 of their, or $400 or $500 of dealer fees, it's up to the buyer. I personally, if it's a vehicle I want, it's a hot vehicle, and the dealer wants to, take $300 for doing all the paperwork and the delivery and whatnot. And if I was getting a Maverick XL, well, of course, I know what the profit margin on a Maverick XL is, and it's extremely small. So I'd actually understand if a dealer's like, well, we have this $300 dealer fee. All the vehicles I've bought recently have no dealer fee. Even the Porsche dealership, they wrote in writing, we promise we have no markup and no dealer fee for your order. But then very comically, they actually make you sign that you understand that you don't get to, there's no fairness, there's no control over where you are on their list. They'll decide if and when you get a vehicle. And they ask for a $5,000 deposit. But I can kind of understand that. That's just to weed out people who just want to order for the sake of being able to say that they order. And maybe I'm one of those people. If the market just completely gets destroyed for this model of vehicle and ownership would cost me something ridiculous like $50,000 for a year, well then I definitely cannot afford to do something wild like that.
And it's so true what you tell us about a dealership can say, oh, the guy doesn't work here anymore or something like that. Because in 2008, for my first new car that I bought for myself, a bad dealership in my region does that to me. The guy told me, okay, yes, you can come tonight at 6. And when I came, they said, oh, he's on vacation. But I'm pretty sure it was just in the back store because he spoke to me the same day. And they said, oh, you have until tonight to say yes because it's a too good price. We cannot let it go with that price. So it was pressure. So yes, we never know what they can do. So yeah.
So he wasn't on vacation.
No, I spoke to
that was a
him
lie.
that day and he said, yeah, you can come in 2 hours to see me.
And in the end, her special carbon fiber edition, really rare model.
That was with another dealership after
Oh,
that.
okay. Because that dealership, though, that put a lot of pressure and said you had to buy it that night, didn't you end up getting, and that was a demo, right?
Yeah, it was a demo. And finally, it was the same price as a brand new that I had at another dealership. So I bought it there.
She knew to shop dealership before she met my brother. Now, once she met my brother, he passed the BS test and was like, okay, he didn't get bust on the BS Buster test. So she has her own BS Buster test and she's good. I passed it, obviously. Otherwise, she wouldn't be my wifey. But she's got a really good, strong sense of who's honest and whatnot. So obviously, she's helping me make this list. And that's why she's asking me these questions.
And that's why we bought from the same dealership since many years because we have good service there. So it pays to be a good salesman.
And just to give you a side tip before we get to the next questions and the next figuring out the right dealership. This isn't part of the list, but this is just on a little side note. What a dealership does to focus on customer service is also going to give you an idea of how they're going to treat you in regards to your sale and delivery of your vehicle. Because you don't want to wait for this vehicle for 10 months or 2 years, and after 2 years find out that you've got this huge markup, that it's going to cost you, $10,000 more or $20,000 more than what's in the window. But here's a good sign. If the dealership has demos of these hot models, that means they've already chosen service over profit. So my local dealership has a Maverick demonstrator. Everyone gets to drive it. Courtesy vehicle, EcoBoost Maverick. They didn't cheat the system to get these vehicles. These are clients that, a couple months before getting the vehicle were like, I want it. And sometimes when the vehicle shows up, well, there can be, there's a lot of reasons why someone can't take a vehicle, horrible reasons such as illness, death in the family, they don't pass for credit.
They lose their job.
They got a job where their current vehicle just completely crapped out on them and they absolutely needed to get to work. They had to buy a used vehicle in the meantime. So all sorts of reasons. Anyways, a really good dealership, you can tell, is if there's visual cues to know if they're picking, service, customers' happiness and comfort level over profit. Because if they're already doing that, they're probably not going to, when it comes down to your order, choose profit over, being horrifically unethical and, trying to steal your order from you by marking it up so much that you say no and then they sell it to whoever. So a good sign is if they have demos sitting around. So yeah, my local dealership, they have an EcoBoost for the courtesy. So anyone that plans a little in advance, they could actually test out that EcoBoost. They have a Maverick that's a hybrid. Then on top of that, they're gonna have a Lightning. They are going to have, they already do have most of the really hot models. They have a Bronco. I was asking myself, what are the hot models? And the problem is right now, most of the models at Ford are hot. The new Ranger that's going to be coming out, I don't have to have some don't be fooled on that, but that's going to be extremely hot. But let's talk about
that's a model that you told me that you want maybe
awesome.
in the future. So
the new Ranger looks amazing. It's a mix between an F-150 and a Maverick. But back to these really important questions to figure out if you've got a dealership on your hands or if you've got a good service dealership.
Yeah, the next one is, can the dealer steal in any other way?
Yeah, okay, so the dealer, we've already kind of mentioned dealer fees, so ask them straight out, what are your dealer fees? If you're really lucky, they'll say none at all. You know my feelings, if they've got a few $100s for dealer fees, and it's not, you're not buying a fully loaded Bronco or a Lightning at, 70,000 USD or 110 Canadian. If I'm buying a $110,000 vehicle, don't insult me by adding a couple $1,000s as a dealer fee. It's like you're already making your money. If it's a bone stock like an Escape SE, a Maverick XL, yeah, I can understand. Everyone's got to live a couple $100s. If I want the vehicle, I'm going to move forward. It's not the end of the world, but you need to ask them, is it obligatory, required to buy any services, or are there any special fees? So M. Peugeot mentioned them just recently. It was a comment that he dropped, I think this morning, really early. He gets up earlier than I do. But when I got up, I saw his comment there. And he was saying, don't forget that they might charge you a ton for paint protection. They might charge you a ton for... and he listed different excuses that are being used on the market. Like they can say, no, we absolutely have to ceramic coat your vehicle, or paint protection, invisible product. It can be paint protection, clear actual wrap, and in that case, if you're going to charge me $300-400 for doing the front of the vehicle, then great, you've given me actually a decent deal. But you need to look at what are they going to charge you extra, and for how much, because there they can just decide like, and Peugeot mentioned nitrogen, because the dealer can say, oh well, we filled your tires with nitrogen and here's a $500 charge, when in reality the cost of them is 30, somewhere between $30 and $60.
Totally. And can we buy or pay into getting it faster? Is it possible?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes and no. So this is like this is its own little mid video don't be fooled section. Some dealerships, yes, and Ford really does not like that. Ford it's great. They're like, no, dealers, it's based on order date. So in my region, I know there was a dealer outside of my region, I should say, but not that far off. They just put it right on Facebook. You want your Lightning faster? We'll put you right at the front of the line. And I recall it was $20,000 or $25,000. Ford was on the phone with them. Like this thing was posted maybe for an hour or two, and then Ford picked up on it, and Ford was like, what are you doing? You take that off right now. So they got a very, well, it wasn't a warning. It was do it or else. I don't call those warnings. Those are just, obligations. So happy that Ford is on the ball, at least in my area for kind of BS like that. But, well, Porsche, I guess they get to do more of what they want. I had to sign right on saying, this isn't a promise that you'll get a vehicle. It's not a promise that you'll get an allotment. And in no way is this being organized by time. It says, I had to agree that they will allot vehicles, allotments. They're going to allot them based on their own discretion, which does mean if someone comes along and says, hey, I really want a Porsche. I know on the used market, they sell for an extra, well, it must be 30 American, but here it's 50,000 Canadian. So they generally sell for an easy 50K over MSRP with a year and 10,000 kilometers on them. So there's certainly going to be some people that are going to walk in and say, look, I want this as fast as possible. If I give you an extra 50K, how fast are we getting it? And I'm sure the answer they get is different than mine. Mine was, super great service I've gotten so far, but the salesman was like, well, to give you an idea, it'll be about 3 years. Part of that is probably related to the fact that I got them to promise. They also signed for doing me at MSRP with, I'd like to say no dealer markup, but I think there was a processing fee later on, and it wasn't quite $1,000. And I was like, wow, it's like... It's not even 1% in Canadian to the total price of the vehicle. I was like, it's like not even 1% of the vehicle. Whatever. I don't want to get it to the point where I get the vehicle in 6 years, because it's like, we'll sell this vehicle to you one day if it becomes unpopular. And by unpopular, I just mean more supply than demand. So I don't think I don't mean unpopular in a negative sense. I have to be careful because sometimes I say what I think is positive information, and like I did with the catalytic lyric, and I got told basically that I should only ever be allowed to talk about Ford products. But even when it's a Ford product, you know, you'll find out in this video when I get to talking about Bronco and a little issue I've had with the Bronco, I've said all my little issues with the Broncos several times, and I still come to the conclusion of I love it, it's worth it, and I'll do it again. So I like to say things as they are. Someone that's, you know, basically this person was commenting, you know, telling me you can't talk about the catalytic lyric because, you know, you didn't say everything, you're not being honest. And then it's like, well, if I say only positive things about a model, then I'm being dishonest. But anyways, back to the show, back to the important stuff. This
We have so much stuff to say.
so yeah, this could turn into a 24-hour live, but
It's like that at home. Totally normal. Can I just wait to get on and off the lot?
to get one off the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marie's asking me just basically, can she just sit around and wait until there's one on the lot? And the simple answer is, you could, but you're going to have to wait. This ties in, I guess, to what I was just saying. You're going to have to wait until the vehicle becomes unpopular, and it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means, in my use of the term, I mean there's more supply than actual demand. And Ford's plan, the future of lots, we heard Tim Bartz talk about this just this week. I was also talking about it fall to or not quite winter, so late fall 2021. Just mentioning that the future at Ford is super fast builds. So you're going to have a few, let's say a decent sized dealership might have 10 F-150s on the lot because there'll be different powertrains, different trims. So you can really see, hey, this is how this engine goes. Now let me try this engine. Now I'll try the third and fourth and fifth engine because, you know, it's an F-150. There's so many engines and there'll be more. So anyways, it's so that you can try out these vehicles. But then, you know, it won't be in the right color and it won't have necessarily the equipment you want. So that's when you're going to custom order, and the goal is going to be able to get this vehicle to, basically, let's say you put in your order on a Tuesday, well, the next week they're building it to you, and then you've got, you know, your 2 to 4 weeks of transport from the factory all the way to having it, you know, washed and waxed and ready to be delivered on the lot. So there'll also be, you know, when there's an Explorer, there'll only be one type of Explorer available. For the ST, then there'll be like an XLT. So a medium-sized dealership will probably only have 2 Explorers on the lot, an XLT and an ST. So if you want a Timberline, you're going to walk in and say, well, which engine does the Timberline have? Oh, it has the 2.3. Oh, so that's like the XLT. Great. I'll take the keys to an XLT. You'll test drive the XLT, but you'll come back and say, I want my Timberline, of course, green because it looks awesome. So that is important to know. So basically, just to recap, at Ford, a good dealership, you need to ask them, because a good dealership won't play around with the order. And so that Ford actually takes your order seriously, we'll get to this later. There's a very important process, and there are ways to know if the dealership is actually properly ordering your vehicle, because there's a real proper way to order a vehicle, and then I wouldn't call it an improper way of ordering it, but it's definitely less beneficial. And we'll get to that just in a little bit.
Perfect. And the other question, can I buy someone reservation or place in line? So if there's a place available finally, can I just sneak in?
Yeah. And this is why before I said yes and no, this is a huge no factor on it. And I got this just today as a question. And I got this one actually face to face, but I have gotten it in the past on the channel. Someone said, hey, you know, I want to know, I'm looking to buy I'm about to take someone's place in line. And I was like, oh, okay, what are you talking about? And they said, well, someone has a reservation for a Lightning. It's now their turn to get built. And I was thinking about going to that dealership and building it. But do you have any dealerships that you could recommend to me? And I was like, don't let any dealership tell you, yeah, come on in, we'll take your order, because they're going to happily take your order, but you can't take someone's reservation. You can't buy someone's reservation. Ford does what's called name match. So Ford, think of Ticketmaster. This is sort of really painting things in in a violent manner, painting it red. Ticketmaster is kind of like painting it red. You've got, let's say, baseball. We only have one baseball team in Canada, so you'll know who they are if you watch baseball. But let's say any baseball company, really any concert, anything that goes on in these stadiums. The price of the actual ticket isn't that much, but then these resellers get their hands on them, and then they resell them for so much more, and that's how, you know, a $60 ticket turns into a $250 ticket. So Ford doesn't want that. So to avoid that, there has to be what's called name match. So Ford is avoiding all that, you know, basically all the capacity gets kind of reserved by someone just putting a little deposit down and being like, hey, I just bought that dealership's entire Bronco allotment, and now I'm going to go sell it to people for, you know, $1,000 or $2,000 a shot. You want a Bronco? Guess what? There's none in the region. I got them all. Here you go, $2,000. Now you have the pure privilege of going to get a vehicle. No, Ford wants to avoid that. There needs to be name match, and, you know, you need to watch out. If Marie wants, let's say, if I want a Bronco, let's say, and I put in a Bronco as an order, but in Marie's name, when it comes in, there's definitely going to be no price match, and it's going to be problematic. So it needs to really be in the person's name, meaning your trade. Let's say the trade is in Marie's name, but I want the new vehicle to be in my name. Well, one option, have the trade in Marie's name and have the new vehicle in Marie's name, or have her give me her trade so that her old vehicle is now in my name, and then I can have the new vehicle. Because basically, at least in Canada, I'm assuming it's the same for in the States, but in Canada, your new vehicle, of course, gets taxed, but we can get taxes back on the old vehicle. So if on trade they're giving you $30,000 for the vehicle, well, we have a 15% tax rate even on
so it's
used
not
vehicle
easy to switch.
It's not easy to switch it, because in reality, that tax economy on the trade, if they're giving me $30,000 before tax, it's going to reduce the taxes on the new vehicle by $4,500. So it's very important that the old vehicle is in the same name as the new vehicle, and the new vehicle needs to really be ordered in the name of the person that's going to be taking it and registering it. Mm-hmm. So the WB, if you could just, we'll do a quick Q&A. We'll just finish out these last. We've got a few more questions that Marie's going to ask me. Then we'll do a quick little Q&A. So make sure to just copy and paste that right now, so that copy it and then paste it in just a moment when we get to questions, because on our screen it went by way too fast and we can't get up our secondary source. We got locked out, wrong passwords. But anyway. So that's that. I'll let Marie ask the next question.
Yeah, perfect. So are all orders at all dealer treated the same?
Yeah, some dealerships will pass people ahead, and that's why you need to ask them that question. Ask them, you know, how do you treat your orders? Are you doing everything by time? So it's important that they do say yes, because you don't want them passing friends, employees, people who are willing to pay, you know, more MSRP or more dealer fee ahead of you.
Perfect.
So, and also, that also brings me to probably the most important part of this video, and just so that I can get it out without getting red in the face, could you just open the window?
Yeah.
So I'm getting red in the face. We're in the office, and earlier there was a kid crying next door, and we didn't want that coming across me live. But I don't want to be red in the face, because this is probably the most important part of this entire video before we get to the don't be fooled. Not all orders are treated the same, not just by the dealer, but not all orders are treated the same by Ford. So you need to make sure that the dealership knows what COVP is, or at least Customer Order Verification Process, which is what it stands for. They need to know what those terms mean, because if they don't do it, your order is going in the box. That's the same box basically as inventory. So, sorry about that. So you need to have your order COVP'd. Very, very important. If the dealership does not know what you're talking about, you need to change dealerships. Because if they don't do this, your order, which could have taken 6 months, can take maybe even 2 years, because when dealerships get allotments, and these allotments are going to be based on two factors. The big one, Ford's really looking into the COVP, and I did cover this a lot in the most recent video, so really quickly to mention it, I'll go over this really quickly. Ford looks at a COVP as it's a promise that the client is real, and it's proof that you're a real customer. So it's not just the dealership trying to get inventory so that they can, sell it at overpriced. Secondly, they're also, it's also proof in a certain way. It's a really good indication to Ford that they're going to sell it to you at the right price, because it's a really good indication, because if the dealership loses too many of these COVP client orders, they're going to lose out a month's worth of allotments. Really serious. And then, of course, dealerships that have their stock, the little bit of inventory they do get, and even the customer orders, the faster they take them in and turn them over, and turn them from their lot to your driveway, the more Ford is going to recognize as that's a dealership that's not doing shady business. They're not a dealership. They're treating people fairly. People are gladly driving away with the vehicles, and it makes it so that Ford goes, hey, this dealership is doing it right. Here's some more vehicles.
Yeah. And how can we know that the order is made right? Can we see it?
Yeah, you can know if it's been done right, because when the COVP process is done, the order really does get confirmed. So there's a sheet that can be printed off, and well, first of all, no matter how your order is done, you should get an email. But generally, because COVP requires the customer's email, if you do get an email, good chances you're COVP'd. But just to make sure your order is even in, you can ask them for what's called a DORA sheet. So with a DORA sheet, that is at least good proof that the order went in. Because sometimes dealerships, your sales consultant is human too. Sometimes people work at the bank. Well, I won't say people sometimes work at the bank and forget to lock something, but I'm sure it does happen. And there's history cases of this happening. So anyways, people make mistakes. You need to get that email. Now, if you got the email, good chances they COVP'd, but there is, they can either send you a screenshot or actually print off the sheet. Because with WebDo, that's like this internal Ford system. When you've done your WebDo and you've done your COVP, you kind of get this, message saying, you did it, it's all good. So you'll want to ask proof to see that.
And what's the big news this week? And is there any new patents or something like that you want to tell us?
There is a new patent. There's some news and there's a new patent. And we'll get to that in just a moment. And actually, I might pause it as we go through. So the WB, if you want to just drop your question again. And in the meantime, Marie's going to try to find it.
It's not that far. So why is my vehicle in production for 5 weeks with no olds not being built and released? I'm sure which dealer I pick wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, that's right, the WB. What dealer you picked doesn't make a difference on the internal system not updating. This could, and there are actually decent chances, it's just the system that hasn't updated yet. It's very possible your vehicle, one option is your vehicle has been built, and it's only once it heads off in transport that it's then going to say built. And I've had actually vehicles that were still in production on the dealer lot. So not the dealer's fault. It's okay. You're not necessarily, this is in no way on the dealer. The other thing is it could still be in production because they have mostly built your vehicle, but they're missing, let's say, Line X, or they're missing heated seats. Basically, they're missing something to be able to say it is produced, because the term it is produced is really when your vehicle absolutely has everything. So I'm happy you asked that question. That is an awesome question because it happens to a lot of us. I've seen it. I think one of my Broncos had a bit of that going on. It was like, it went from, oh man, and it's the worst thing is when it's getting built, and then you really get antsy. And this, I think, happens to a lot of people. I'm usually extremely patient, but this is with vehicles. This is the only time I really got antsy and impatient. So yeah, it can just be sitting around and you're not getting an update, you're not getting an update. Sometimes it's just because the update doesn't come even though it's done, and other times it's that they can't give an update because it's not true yet. The vehicle is 90 or 98% built and they're missing something.
And he had just after that in another comment, I'm sure Ford is holding some component to be used in a higher margin build. What do you think about that?
Ford is holding some components to be used in a higher margin build. I don't have any evidence to say that's true. Jim Farley at one point did say like, hey, we need some parts. We need to reserve some parts for higher margin vehicles. It was said, and I never saw it occur because I kept seeing Mach-E's coming in, and the Mach-E's, not only are they not a higher margin profit, they're a product or a model that gets built at a loss. Because of the battery prices that have gone up, this is no longer a profitable model. This is a model at loss, and they're pumping them out. So yeah, no, I can't say that I've got any evidence for that. I thought that would be the case, and it kind of, I was like, oh, come on, really? Heated seats. I was thinking heated seats back then. I was like, oh, the heated seats are going to be saved for F-150s. Oh, okay, well, an XLT 302 is almost twice the price of as our hybrid XLT. But I've seen a lot of Mavericks, luxury package Mavericks, EcoBoosts show up. So I haven't seen it. It's really weird because most of our orders in our region are with heated seats, of course. And Ford didn't just stop sending us Mavericks or really super pushing ahead of time the non-heated seat models. It's weird, but on EcoBoost, luxury package adds you about a month delay. So they're still shipping them out. So let's now go to the news. And actually, that actually worked out to kind of be news to know. We will call that category news to know. WB, awesome questions. I always appreciate you being around. I just saw, I think, Dr. Detroit show up. He's maybe been here for a while. He's got a little bit of news as well for his, he calls it a Brafus. He's talking about his Raptor, Bronco Raptor. Sorry, linguistics. I can't assume everyone knows these like weird little Bronco talk that we have. But anyways, so yeah, the big news. This is actually news I kind of like, and well, actually I mostly just really dislike this. Ford has patented a system in which the door won't open. So this is basically for people who live in cities, and there's, bicycles, pedestrians, runners, and cars. And I can understand, it's cool. You go to open your door and you don't just get a warning, but the door actually goes, nope, not letting you walk in, not letting you either lose the door or, get squashed between a vehicle and a door. And okay, great. So Ford doesn't believe in survival of the fittest, and Ford wants absolutely everyone to live forever. That's fine if that's their philosophy in building a great society. But the problem I have with this is I can definitely see it go wrong. And it could be done right, but I can just imagine a vehicle being, in a pond or in a body of water, and the sensor being like, no, there's stuff coming. Fish just swam by, of course, just water.
Yeah, emergency stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be, if you hit the water, there's going to be debris from the floor bed, and I don't want to be locked in my vehicle because my vehicle assumed it needed to keep me alive. If I don't look into traffic before getting out of my vehicle.
And it always happened to us that sometimes you need to go out your car and you don't have that much space and you need to hold on the door, and maybe you won't have the chance to open it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work. But
often the vehicles are 3 feet away from us, and it's like, no, I'm an intelligent human being. I want to open my door 1.5 feet. And whatever width my chest is, whether it's 12 or 24 inches, I want to be able to just slide out the vehicle and actually get on with my day. I want the freedom to, I want these little advantages, and I
don't know if it.
And I don't want to be locked in the vehicle.
Accident like that, so they put it.
There's probably a lot of people who've lost their door.
Was thinking that much.
I think it's probably more a case of people opening the door and then losing the door, because normally you don't open the door while basically jumping out of it. So, I don't know. I'm really iffy on this technology. I don't ever want to be in a situation where even if I'm not in a body of water, if I've got snow or debris on the back sensor, I don't want to be locked in the vehicle. That'll be frustrating, and I won't tolerate it. I'll probably just break a window and open the handle from the outside and be like, that's it, I'm never buying from this manufacturer again, and that'd be totally unfair and totally unreasonable, but my patience has its limits. I will not be locked in a vehicle. This was one of the main things. Something that drove me wild about Tesla is I actually know someone who was locked in their Tesla for 2 hours. As they waited, they had to wait for
And why?
The tow because the vehicle is so a technological marvel, and that's fine. But there are days that if my printer is not going to work, I almost feel like, obviously it's like I almost feel like smashing the printer and be like, that's it, I'm going back to, I remember back in school when they asked for 2 copies, both copies were done by hand. And no, the second copy wasn't very fun to do. And you even had to trace, you went to your encyclopedia or whatever it may be, and you a geography book, and you'd actually literally trace everything and then color it in. And this was just something you did. And you'd write like diagram 1.1, 1.2. But anyways, long tangent. Problem I have with Tesla is I actually know someone who's locked in their Tesla for 2 hours. So this isn't really technology.
It wasn't full of a day in the car.
Well, you can, as long as you still have battery, you still have the air conditioning, and Teslas are cool. You've got the screen, you can basically play video games, draw on.
You can live in your car.
Yeah, the Mach-E also has a little screen. You can get to like drawing things and whatnot. But really, I think the huge advancement on what we can do with touchscreens are going to be unveiled in the S650 Mustang. So that's the new generation of Mustang getting unveiled the 14th of September. I believe, I have a strong feeling that's the first time we're going to be seeing that the new technology, these new touchscreens are going to be run by Google. So Google and Android. So cool stuff. I believe that's going to be coming out of that. It didn't come out, of course, on the Lightning as we had originally, and I say we, I mean people generally in the industry thought that the Lightning would have this new Google system, that it'd be the first fruits of labor from the partnership between Ford and Google. But that didn't happen. I think it's going to happen on the Mustang. And I wonder if the Mustang is going to have a new 5-liter, or just at one of these Mustangs, I think is getting a new model, because Ford has let out a video clip. They, out of their choosing, it's not, spy stuff. They released a clip of the V8, and that does not sound like my V8. And it sounds very much like a race V8, but not the 5.2 liter race V8, because the current 5.2 liter engine from Ford is an incredible race engine. It's so awesome that you can buy that, but it's still not that sound. It sounds more European, more like European V8 tech. So that's going to be cool. And that's that. That's what I've got to say for so far for news.
Perfect. And another question: as for the won any awards? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Maddie worked hard today. She's tired. So yes,
I was talking all day, so that's the problem.
Talking all day. So Ford has won some awards, and I'm usually iffy on awards. I have different feelings about different companies, but this one I can actually agree with. The Ford Edge, it comes from Consumer Reports, but the Ford Edge won out over the Chevy Blazer, Honda Passport, and really it's the winner for its category. So the mid-sized SUV, because it's between those that are Escape-sized and Explorer-sized. And this was in regards to reliability. So 3-year reliability on the Edge is top in the industry for mid-size SUVs. So I think that's pretty cool. Of course, the price of the Edge is relatively reasonable, and when you look at the fact that it's the most reliable, well, then that price, there's so much more value to that price. And I actually saw a Blazer this week. I had it right in front of me, did a tour. I have to say, I like how it looks. I like a lot how it looks, but it's called a Blazer. And this was actually, a Trailblazer, which is it bugs me. Vehicle looks great.
Trail?
Yeah, it's called Trailblazer, and that thing's not blazing anything. If you're blazed, You've rolled one and smoked one. You're blazed if you think a Trailblazer earned that name. First of all, you're destroying some heritage, a whole lot of off-road heritage, because the original 80s Blazers were real Trailblazers. You go off-road with them and blaze a lot of trail. And the new Blazer is just a vehicle to get blazed in. Crack a window, go get blazed. The thing looks great, but the name is horrifically wrong. But nothing against GM. I say what I think. I don't like the fact that the Mustang is called the Mustang Mach-E. I love the Mach-E. I just don't like the fact that it's called Mustang. Even though, yes, it does look like a Mustang. It shares proportions. They did an amazing job. I wouldn't change the styling in any way. I'd just change the name.
Okay. The other question, what is on your don't be fooled list? You have new stuff?
I do. And before I get to the don't be fooled list, I just quickly want to point out, sort of to quote, Consumer Reports named the Edge the safest and most reliable used 3-year-old vehicle. Fords are incredibly safe. Ford did something very smart a couple decades ago, and they bought Volvo, because Volvo are just the best vehicles to go drive full speed into a tree with. And Ford bought them, and they took out those platforms. They literally copy and pasted those Volvo platforms, brought them to Ford, and then a lot of other, they learned a lot from that. So it wasn't just about copy and paste, it was copy, paste, and remember, so that when your future platforms come out, well, there's sort of an advancement on those platforms that they had taken from Volvo. So really, really great move. Also the all-wheel drive. Love Ford's all-wheel drive system, because there's a lot learned from both Land Rover and Volvo. And I can tell you in Bronco, our Broncos, my Bronco, this winter, our Broncos, you're going in a straight line, the vehicle keeps itself in a straight line. You're in a corner, and the vehicle, it knows your trajectory. So then when one time I slid out by an entire foot, and the vehicle brought itself right back in, and I didn't have time to correct or correct incorrectly. It was just, I had time to think, oh crap, and then, oh my goodness, okay, everything's done, life is good. So yeah, to your questions, super important don't be fooled list. Thank you for asking that, Marie.
Pleasure.
Sorry it took me a while to get to it. Had some things on my mind to get out. The Ford Ranger. Here's a big Ford Ranger thing. I love the new Ford Ranger. And a lot of salespeople, if you go to a salesperson right now, I bet, I can't go to all of them, but there's going to be a big enough percentage that if you say, I want to put this deposit down on the brand new Ford Ranger, they're going to go, okay. Because I think a lot of them, most of them, will think that we're getting the next gen Ranger for 2023. No, we're getting the 2023 Ranger. We're getting the next gen Ranger in 2023 as a 2024. And it's not just salespeople. Yes, some of them are just going to take your money because, like, haha, I got them. And then I think a lot of them will actually order you a 23. And when it comes in, when they see the first ones come on the lot, they go, whoa, what happened? It's the same. I didn't get the right vehicle. Ford built me the wrong vehicle. And you'll hear all sorts of excuses out of a trapped, caged rat. Any animal, you put them in a cage and you shake them up, and yeah, they're gonna kind of kick and scream. So when you're shopping your dealership, we're no longer in the days of playing the games of, I'll ask them 4 hard questions on the vehicle, and if they answer them right, I can trust them, and if they answer them wrong, I can't trust them. No, follow my 10 steps, because these days with the internet, we're passionate about the vehicles we order. It's only natural we know them better than the salesperson who has, depending on the company, anywhere from 10 to 30 models to sell. Each of those models has special packages, sub-models, special editions. So don't try to find out if your dealer is a good dealer based on if the salesman is essentially, if they've got all those models, all those trims, and all those packages, if they remember them all off by heart, wow, great. You know what you found? You found a genius. And the genius might feel that, hey, I'm a genius. I deserve to be paid more. So yeah, I'm okay with the $10,000 markup. I deserve it. I have, I can tell you, What I know at Ford was harder to attain and actually recollect than a bachelor's degree. I found a bachelor's degree, both bachelor's degrees, super easy. I only got one diploma. It's a money thing, but anyways, I've got my courses. Anyways, knowing 30 different models perfectly is near impossible. So don't test your salesperson that way. And don't order the wrong Ford Ranger. Right now, if you put a deposit down, you are not getting the real deal, the next gen. You're going to get the current gen. So they're going to be building those. Who knows? Maybe it'll be May, June, July, or August, maybe September. But I think I've got a good feeling the current Ranger is going to be a short production model year. So they're going to build 2023 Rangers. They're basically identical to the current ones. They're just some colors subtracted, colors added, packages removed. It's basically identical. The hot new Ranger we're seeing that Australia is already getting, we're going to get that at some point delivered to us in 23 as a 24 model. So basically, if you do order a 23 Ranger, know that you're getting the old model, the model that's been around since 2019, if my recollection is correct. And it's not because your dealer, not a bad test of is it a good dealer, is it a bad dealer, is this salesperson good, is this salesperson bad, because, news sources are getting this wrong. I had the quote spot on right here, and I'm having a little bit of trouble finding it, but basically in the introduction, and also in the conclusion, this journal was saying, hey, the big unknown is whether we're getting the next gen Ranger as a 23 model or a 24 model. And I can confirm it's absolutely a 24 model in the 2023 year, as early as next summer to as late probably as late fall. That's when we're getting it. It is going to be awesome. I do want one, but I probably won't be able to get one because I have too many cars, and at some point you gotta make choices.
You need to make a choice, yeah. And speaking about the Ranger, I saw a question from Rex before. Yeah. He was talking about, do you know if the Ranger will be electric soon? Rex,
you're awesome, because this is in my notes and I was forgetting to talk about it. I expect to get the plug-in Ranger as a 2025 model year. So 1 year of basically new Ranger styling. We've all learned people blame the manufacturer when they make something too popular, because they don't go, oh my goodness, this thing is so popular. It's very common. We hear it on the Maverick, all the current popular models. What have a lot of people been saying? How dare they? What a flop. I'm not going to buy Ford ever again because my order's taking too long. So what do you not want to do as a manufacturer? Give it all to them so that you get all the people wanting an electric Ranger asking for one. You get all the people who want a plug-in Ranger asking for one. I think year one, so in mid to late 2023, you'll get our first 2024 Rangers, and they're going to be straight out 2.3 liters. 2025 model available sometime in late 24. We're probably going to get at least a hybrid, but I'm pretty, at this point, from what's been said, I'm pretty positive we're getting a plug-in. And then this is hard. Been hard to shake. Sorry, I'm healthy though, but this has been hard to shake. And we're gonna get that plug-in as a 2025, and electric. Well, Ford on the electric end has surprised us. Sometimes it's just like, boom, here's an electric F-150, and it's like, whoa, where did that come out from? Where did that come from? But on a normal scale of things, a 2026 Ranger would make sense, because I have reasons to think that obviously Blue Oval City is right now officially only for F-150s, but then based on things that have been said, oh yeah, there's going to be another electric truck. Oh, and then maybe the factory could build more than one model.
Yeah, and if they are able to do that for the F-150, for the Ranger, it will be possible.
Blue Oval City is 6 square miles. And so here's the thing. Blue Oval City for 1 year is going to make sure to pump out all sorts of F-150 Lightnings, catch up on the current model F-150s, and we might even, who knows, maybe we'll get a new model, completely redesigned, platform styled, not just basically a gas F-150 that lost its ICE component and gained an EV component, but I mean a full-out F-150 Lightning designed as an electric from beginning all the way to the end. We could get that in 26, and if it might also be that as well as an electric Ranger in 2026. So I'm expecting huge news from Blue Oval City for 2026. So that's that. I'll keep us all updated. Please do like and subscribe because I want to be covering all this, and I do want to have the scoops way in advance. Sometimes I have to say I highly suspect, or very heavy speculation. When I use those terms, I'm saying something without, getting myself in trouble. So anyways, other awards I would just want to cover. You can start putting your questions now, because now we're kind of on a topic that at any time I can just go in and answer a question. But basically, I'm really happy. I really like Motor Trend, Car and Driver, and Road and Track. Car and Driver is my favorite. I really like Motor Trend is second, and then second and third are pretty close. But anyways, one of the major journals that I like, obviously, was comparing the Raptor to the Jeep. And everything they said, I completely agree with. The 392 Rubicon Jeep, that engine is awesome. It creates wild power. Of course, you go from a 3-liter V6 twin turbo in the Raptor, and you have to get all the way to, a 6.4-liter V8 in the Rubicon to gain, 60, not quite, you go from 418 horsepower in the Raptor, and you're getting 470 horsepower in the Rubicon. So more than double the engine size to produce a bit more power. But that actually is pretty decent, a bit more power. 440 pound-feet of torque versus 470 pound-feet of torque. So the 30 pound-feet of torque, that's not that much, but the overall result is that the Rubicon is 2 seconds faster, 0 to 60. But I love how they didn't just focus on the 0 to 60 time as the most important thing, because in an off-road machine, 0 to 60 isn't the most important thing. It's about two things: comfort on the trail, comfort as your daily. And they put the Raptor ahead, not just because it's $10,000 less when you're comparing both vehicles at MSRP. The Rubicon costs an extra $10,000 US. But basically it won because they said the Raptor can go places the Jeep Rubicon cannot. And you're going to get there in much more comfort. And this is something I've been saying, I feel since I've been driving the two and comparing the two. I was like, the big difference is the drive. I've got a bad back, and it's incredible because driving my Bronco, and I don't have a bad back. I forget I have a bad back. It's unbelievably impressive. So it's really nice that a major journal confirmed that there is a huge difference on suspension, saying the Rubicon, you really get shaken up on the trail, and the Bronco does the trail comfortably. And I've said it for a long time. Our Broncos are extremely comfortable, right? You love it?
Yeah, so much. And at the off-rodeo, when we try it with the rocks, we didn't feel like it was shaking. It was all under control.
Yeah.
I was holding your cell phone to do videos, and it wasn't that bad.
In her hands with no support. I was like, hon, maybe you should just support your
we're
elbows
like,
on your legs. She's like, I don't have to. It's good. So the suspension is incredible. Now, speaking of Bronco, our personal Bronco news is our front diff is partially locked. If we put it in 4A, like I spent quite a bit more money on my both Broncos than I really wanted to. Now that I've had them, I'm like, I'd spend more. They're so worth it. Don't tell Ford. Ford, lower the price. But between us, it's worth so much more than what I've actually paid for them. And the thing is, I paid more for 4A, for automatic. You put it in 4A, summer, winter, anytime you can drive it. Otherwise, if you put it in 4H and you're going at slow speeds on asphalt, well, it's hard on the diffs and the vehicle's hopping around. It's doing that from the front diff. I had this confirmed. The dealership, I won't say that they had doubts. I told them right away, I'm like, front diff. They're like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll check it out. And they're super cool and polite with me and everything, but they're like, okay, well, before we order parts based on what you think, let's go check it out. And we went and we checked it out, and they're like, the reaction I got from the head tech was, oh, you're right. It actually is the front diff. And it really does seem partially blocked. And I was like, I know, right? It sounded crazy. I know what I said sounded crazy, but I'm happy you're confirming this with me. So I put it in the calendar, and you need to make sure I take the right vehicle. You need to make sure I get to the dealership that day with that Bronco, because they're going to check it out. I think it's the 29th of September. So anyways, basically the end of the month, shortly after, I'll be able to tell you what parts got ordered, or is it just reprogramming? Is it electrical? I don't think it's programming.
Would it cost that much?
Yeah, I don't think it's programming. The question is it electrical in the sense of do I have a sensor that broke or just got unclipped or whatnot? I think it's mechanical, and I look forward to sharing that all with you. And I still feel this is a great vehicle.
Because if
love
it was electrical, maybe we will have that problem all the time, and it's just when we try to park and we go slow, we cannot turn.
And it's not, if it was happening just on a very humid or rainy day, then I might think, okay, maybe there's a sensor partially unclipped.
Oh, it's all the time now.
It's all the time. And
when we park.
As soon as it happened, I was like, well, let's see if it's an intermittent problem. And Marie, then, Friday, she reported the problem. Monday, she reported the problem. And then even I was doubtful. I'm like, yeah, sure, honey.
I was like, go try it, you see.
Yeah, and I was like, no, honey, it's fine. And I was just like, she'll take it Monday and the problem won't be there because it never was a problem. She was imagining something, and I'm sorry, that's not fair of me.
And everything broke at the same time that week because the bolt, when we put the door back, when we tried to remove it and put it back, we lost a bolt that we didn't tighten enough. So the door was like,
I was talking to the camera.
Yeah.
My fault.
It was all at the same time, so I was like, what is wrong with that car this week?
Well, I think it's because off camera,
but it was our fault.
Yeah, I went to play with the camera, and I was like, hey, hon, maybe you want to finish doing that, screwing in that bolt. And then I just stopped listening because I was playing with the camera, and she would have certainly said, well, no, I'm doing this thing over on the Bronco. And then when I got back to it, I just assumed it was done. But I had left it not tightened so that she would get the hang of knowing, I was expecting her to be like, hey, is this the right, did I tighten this the right? Like, how much do I crank on this? But when I didn't hear anything else, I just figured, yeah, she did it and she didn't have any problems. Perfect.
And it takes a long time before we lose it, and we're lucky we didn't lose it in a parking. We lose it in the car. It goes like that in the car, so we were...
I don't understand the physics on that one.
No, I don't understand either.
It's the top bolt, and the top bolt goes from underneath. The bottom bolt comes from on top. The top bolt comes from underneath, and obviously if you don't fully screw it, while opening and closing the door and the vibrations, you'll get that screw to come out, and then somehow it ended up in the vehicle. So it all ended well. Don't forget, start putting in your questions. Marie, if you want to just start seeing if you already have one, great.
So I know a few questions that I see since the beginning. So Review was asking at the beginning if I had any build date or news from my Maverick. Unfortunately not. Maybe for the next month, I don't expect to have it. So
you didn't ask me today. And vehicles can now be vehicles that are in balance out phase. They can schedule at any time, not just Thursdays, honey. They can schedule Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
But because I'm so lucky, I don't expect to have news in the next month, maybe.
Yeah, but you're not even gonna ask me if when I check today if it was there.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if you check, you will already told us.
Okay. She doesn't have a build
answer.
date. No, I checked and she doesn't have a build date.
Okay, and now we have a question from for low, sorry, that he posted before. So I didn't receive the Ford email on the 6th regarding order change for my
model year 2022 to model year 2023.
Should I be concerned?
Call the dealer. Yeah. Call the dealer. And this is an awesome question you're asking because it really ties in with the show so perfectly. This goes back to at the very beginning, I did say of this live, I said, if you're a conversion, you need to watch this show because you might need to reshop you might need to reshop your dealer. I wouldn't cancel your current order, but I would 10 questions that a dealer succeeds with, order a second one with them. Then be fair to the dealers. As soon as you get a VIN at one, cancel the other.
Yeah. And just after that...
Ridgeview. I didn't communicate properly. She did not get a build date. Marie, I've been pretty convinced since mid to end May that Marie is getting pushed to 2023, and I was mentioning back then, maybe it was early May, but somewhere in the month of May, I was saying Marie's probably getting pushed as a 23, and I tried to slowly break it into the show to be like, a lot of us are going to be getting pushed to 23, especially if you're hybrid. But
that's why I know I won't have any news soon.
Ton of hybrids that get pushed as 2023.
Yeah. And there was another question, again from For High, For Low. My dealership told me that my signed order sheet is my COVP and nothing else is needed, and I am good with that. So is that true?
No. For High, For Low, if they truly only had you sign the order sheet, that's not enough for a COVP. They need to send your... info from your driver's license to Ford. Locally, we actually have order and purchase and lease offers signed. And let's say on a 2022 Maverick, what the dealership does is they say, this is your 2022 price. If it comes in as a 2022 price, yeah, we're going to sign. We guarantee that. However, if it comes in as a 23, well, then it's going to be whatever the 2023 price is, because at least in our region, in Canada and in this part of Canada, we were told well in advance that 2022 models that get converted to 2023 models, that there will not be price protection. And so far, there also isn't private offers being emailed out. So if you're not getting an email, that's actually an excellent sign that you did not get COVP'd with that dealer. And that's also how in the States, that's how Ford sends out the private offers, which works out kind of to a price protection, but it takes the responsibility and the work away from the dealership, and even the option, because dealerships can either not know how to price protect, which a lot of them don't, and they can also just not want to price protect for you. So if that email's not there, they didn't COVP. So I would consider it really, I'm sorry to say it, For High, For Low, I think your dealer probably did not COVP you. So you can try to get in COVP'd with them for the 2023, but clearly they just told you, well, no, this is good enough for a COVP, meaning they're probably treating all their orders the same. They're not going to COVP any of them, and then they just figure, oh, well, they're all not COVP'd, so they'll all be treated the same. They'll all be put in order. And in a way, in a small way, they're right, but in a big way, they're wrong. The small way they're right is, yes, the allotments they do get, no difference. The only thing is they're going to get less allotments. They're going to get, I would think, significantly less allotments.
They play with fire.
They're playing with fire, and I can't say I can't guarantee they're going to get burnt, because I don't have, written proof right in front of me that they're going to get burnt.
There's a chance.
Based on all the rules and all the information, it's not just that there's a chance. Based on the rules and information, they're getting burnt. Mm-hmm. So shop your second dealer, order up, and when you get a VIN at one, drop the other.
Perfect. And another question from Paul S. Is the Maverick Hybrid 2023 will come with all-wheel drive?
I wish, yes.
We all wish.
We all wish.
I want one too.
We all wish, but because there's so much demand, I don't see why they would. They're just if Ford does this, it's going to be love and hate. It's going to be love at first, and then it's going to be hate because the Mavericks are going to take longer. Demand is already too high. It only makes sense that they use this to kind of bring in more interest to the product once interest, becomes a little more reasonable. Because once again, Ford gets to look at the situation. They read the comments on YouTube. They look at the different media sources. And when you've got so many people being like, I'm never going to buy any Ford again because they tease this awesome little truck, and it's not little, by the way, it's right sized, but they tease this awesome right sized truck at an incredible price, and then you just can't have one. Like, how dare they? Do you think a company, when they see all this anger and frustration towards them, do you think they're like, hey, yeah, there's a bit of a garbage fire going on right now because we made something great. Let's make a bigger fire. Well, no. Corporations aren't pyromaniacs, and they want to put the fire out. So as very possible as it would be for this to happen, they've had the whole year to work on it. It's not the two things that need to basically change is the rear suspension, and I covered this early on in the beginning. And I'm digging deep into my memory, but I believe it's the transmission. There needs to be a bit of a modification to either the transmission or the electrical motor or transmission. But anyways, they're doable, and I think unfortunately, we're more likely to see that for 24. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed because there were those spy shots of. There are some suspicious spy shots that we've talked about on the channel in regards to the Maverick with a little box on the side. So
we'll see.
Let's see if we get all-wheel drive hybrid first, or if we get plug-in hybrid. If it follows the way of the Escape, we'll get hybrid first and then plug-in. But maybe Maverick will do things differently, and maybe we'll just be blessed with a plug-in Maverick. But if something like that does happen, you know what? If something like that does happen, I think it's doable if they start making the Maverick also in another factory. And it's not unheard of. I talked about it in the last video in regards to production starts for the F-150. You got the Kansas factory, and you've got the Louisville factory. I should remember this by heart, but anyways, you never right now. There is no second Maverick factory. There's no actual rumors of a second factory inside at Ford. The only second factory that's been talked about is by Velocity, and they took Ford Blue Oval news that's a year old and mixed that with Maverick news, and then got 1 million views basically saying that Maverick production is going to go up. It's going to be huge. And that was just completely wrong. Completely false. There could be a second Maverick factory, and it's definitely not Blue Oval City unless we're talking about unless an electric Maverick happens, somewhere between 2026 and 2030, which I think it will happen. I think we will have an electric Maverick somewhere between 26 and 2030, but it's going to have its whole new own platform, because Jim Farley has said, he's talking about the Cadillac Lyric, and he's like, yeah, that's not for us. That looks a lot like a ICE vehicle, and we're not going to do that. Our EV products are going to be completely new, completely different, quotations, except for that F-150 Lightning. So the F-150 Lightning, they just kind of threw in the electric stuff to it. But the next Lightning is going to be its own platform and totally different, which part of the news is that we're getting a mid-model refresh for the 2024 F-150 next year. So in 2023, we're going to see this new refreshed 2024 F-150. And then the question is, are we going to get a refreshed Lightning? Or are we going to get a whole new Lightning, which would be super weird that after only 2 model years, you get a completely redesigned. So it'd be super quick, but it's not impossible. So I'll stick to the Q&A because we're wrapping up the show.
Yeah. And in the same kind of question, Tom asked for the Bronco Sport Hybrid and the all-new Fusion Active Wagon. Do you have any news about it?
I like wagons. And I don't think we'll get it in our market, but I'm one of the rare guys that in our market that, well, clearly if you're talking about it, you like it too. So good taste, my friend. I'm all about a power wagon. Give me a powerful electric wagon, and that is just so cool. I hope we get it for our market. I hope it happens, but I don't have any new news since the news I had reported a couple months ago. And part of that other question
The
was
other was the
Bronco
Bronco
Sport.
Sport Hybrid.
I don't think it's a huge priority. Now, I love how Ford has now separated into many more teams, but smaller teams, where you'll have kind of like a big room. This is going to be the future of development at Ford. You have like this is how the Lightning and Mach-E were done. You've got a big room, and you've got like the different, you could say departments, but the departments are, let's say, teams of like 10 to max, let's say 20 people, and they're working in a section. But then in the same room, you've got another section and they're doing this other aspect, so that there can be quick cross communication, problem solving. How's the steering wheel going to fit with the dash? How is the dash going to fit with the exterior? And this really made the product get done really well, and it helps with innovation, and it really makes everything sort of seamless. And the Mach-E, one of the huge things is that thing is very well built, and it is seamless. I just look forward, out of everybody, to get new battery technology.
We have a good question about the battery, so I see everybody goes in line with the same subject. That's cool. Ken Hasling, he says, with an hybrid battery, when it dies, are we able to just go on gasoline engine if the battery dies? Or we need to replace it?
Amazing question, and I don't have the answer guaranteed in front of me, but I'm gonna put a strong bet on you need to have that battery replaced. And this is where battery replacement, this is one of the reasons why I'm a big believer in plug-in technology, because the batteries are much smaller, less environmental impact, and less impact to your wallet when it comes time to change it. But do recall that even on very old battery technology, not lithium ion, on nickel, whatever, the 2003 Escape hybrids, those batteries are still running in taxis. So Ford's been good with the longevity of their batteries. However, what the new plans coming out of China, Geely, they want to do one huge battery, one unit batteries and they're claiming, 600 kilometers of, was it miles or kilometers? I run in two systems. It must have been miles, but anyways, one of the highest numbers available for a range out of something that's not lucid. So here's the problem: one unit, you damage a corner, your battery's finished. The Cadillac Lyric, 12 units. Great. It's like the Mach-E that I saw. It got damaged from an impact underneath, and from recollection, 2 of the units got replaced. And I don't remember the exact amount. I've got way too many notes at my desk, but I think the cost was about $20,000. And I'm talking in Canadian, so divide by 6. For the Americans, that's just a joke. It's a 30% conversion rate. Just like I talk 30% more than a normal human being on this show because I'm Canadian, so the Canadian show has to have more content. But anywho, big battery, your car's scrapped if it gets pierced. Smaller battery, big battery but with many units, well, if 1 or 2 units get pierced, well, then your vehicle's not scrapped because it's still extremely expensive but doable.
Another question from the WB. He said he heard many person talking about that. Do you know if the Maverick or Bronco line will run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and on holidays too?
I already thought that Ford was already at 3 shifts, and maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe this excludes the Bronco, but I thought generally Ford across generally all their models were running 3 shifts. So basically that they're running at full out production. I run more than 3 shifts from my understanding. And also to mention, the Mach-E's batteries, had the entire battery been needing changing, it would have been almost 50,000 Canadian. So the number of units, it was more than 2 because the total cost was 20. So each unit is definitely not 10,000 a unit. I think each unit is more around 5,000 Canadian. So still doable. If you break 1 unit, it's 5,000. Well, then that's changeable. But the whole battery, your vehicle's scrapped because 50,000 Canadian, a whole battery on a Select. Well, the Select starts at 53 Canadian. So anyways, the math doesn't add up. You scrap the vehicle, get another one insurance-wise.
Albert is asking when the Maverick 2023 order guide will be released. Did they change the date or?
It's just more that they're it's okay. So here's the thing. Ford has officially said that you'll be able to order banks, 2023 order banks on the Maverick, or open up mid-September. Now, the fleet sheet, there's a rumor going out online that it's the 15th of September. Well, that rumor comes from the fleet ordering sheet that does say the 15th, but these things tend to move. So, and there's no guarantee we'll get an order guide before the ordering actually starts. There's no guarantee that your salesperson will actually have time to learn about the new changes on the Maverick, so go easy on them. That's not how you find out if it's a good dealer or not. They'll just repeat that little section. It's okay if you know more than your dealer about the model that you're, passionate about. You ask yourself, do you know that as much as you know about the one model you're shopping and excited about, do you know that much about every single model at Ford plus the models that compete with it? Because salespeople usually need to have a bit of understanding of, where does this vehicle place amongst its segment in regards to, fuel economy, performance, comfort, and whatnot. It's really cool. I've actually been on little segments, back when I had the Maverick. They didn't do it for the Maverick because there really wasn't a competitor available yet. But for when the Mustang came out in 2015, I was at an event and it was like, hey, here's a racetrack and here are the keys to a Dodge Challenger, a Mustang, and a Camaro. So that was awesome. Ford paid me to race cars. Well, yeah, I got to squeal the tires, take off squealing, every corner squealing, and it was kind of like, okay, good. It's good to see that you're properly testing these vehicles and getting a really good impression of, how good the new Mustang suspension is. So hat off to Ford, and Ford, please invite me again.
Me too.
Yeah, I was about to say, can invite Maddie, let her come too.
If they don't invite me, I will have to do the camera anyway. So,
yeah.
A question from Javier Rios. If I get a Ford Maverick Lariat with all-wheel drive and 4K tow, will the build date will be faster since there are no luxury package?
Well, I can tell you locally, not much of a difference. 1 month. So at that point, if you really want the luxury package, go for it. Could things get worse for microchips? And, what I'm saying now, could this be very different in 3-4 months from now? Absolutely. Absolutely. We don't know the future, so the real safe bet is, if you're really on the fence about it and you want to play it safe, don't take it. If you like the equipment, do take it. Where I'm seeing major added delays is on the hybrid, because a hybrid I can see come in. Well, I saw one come in ridiculously fast, and that was irksome. But generally, if a hybrid is, let's say, 10 months, it looks like the Lux package on our hybrid is going to hit us up more on 16 or 17 months. So But
at the same time, is the hybrid too the problem? Because we saw many EcoBoosts. So
yeah, we didn't see all that many hybrids, but I saw hybrids were generally like 8-10 months without Lux, and then with Lux we're looking at like 14 months. So 16-17 months. So major delay with that.
I saw a Maverick exactly the same as I will have an XLT Area 51. It's in our area. He's rubbing it in my face in each 2 days maybe. But it's an EcoBoost, so yeah, I'm jealous, but not that much.
Yeah. Not seeing major problems when it's an EcoBoost taking Ford's building EcoBoost Lux packages. So does that wrap up the show and the questions?
We have a good one, but it's almost done. Jason Barrett, it says, how long after ordering will it take to get email to confirm the COVP?
Okay, good question. This is brand new in Canada, and I actually know that I just recently saw some order folders and they had a confirmation sheet in them. And yeah, relatively quick. It doesn't need to be while you're there, they won't necessarily plug in all the information. So you should get a confirmation. You should get like a proof of COVP that it's worked out. You should get this. And actually, on the future shows, I should actually blank out some personal information and actually bring one of these sheets in. But you should get it within about a week. Now, if anyone from Tim Bart's show, I think he might have talked about this. I watched Tim Bart's show this week in 20 to 30 minute segments on my drives to and from work. He's way better than the radio. And all this to say, if you are having trouble finding a dealer that fills out my 10-step criteria, email Tim Bart's, Long MacArthur. He'll take care of you. Yeah. Robin O'Malley, thank you so much. Really appreciate. One, thank you for the supportive and encouraging comment. And also, huge thank you also to being a member because you support us in ways that you'll never know. My stress level, one, I can put out more shows. And I'm the type of person that if I start to make mistakes, I almost start to isolate things as if there's a sickness in let's say if there's a sickness in a crop on the farm, I almost burn this area, isolate it. So with this channel I've broken a lot of stuff, and if it wasn't for the added support, every time I break something I tell Marie, I'm like, oh no, it's okay. This is why we have membership. So just this week, I was trying to get videos out on the Toyota MR2 and clean up the Bronco, basically clean up the little mini fleet. And I wanted to do videos on the MR2 in regards to tuning, computer tuning, in regards to compounding, and in regards to painting. Pressure washer, boom, right against the Mustang, bumper,
scratch it
like butter. It can actually, it's such a nice scratch. It almost looks like a professional design. Nike has the swoop, and this is more of like a squiggly. It looks like really good alien writing.
Yeah, because it's not just the paint; it eat the plastic too.
Like butter. Turns out that
that's the problem.
It turns out that when you're pressure washer, I always had electrical pressure washers, and I went through those as ridiculous. I just burn them out in like 2 months time, freeze, crack, whatever. And now I've got a full out Husqvarna. Yeah, orange.
Yeah.
I like Husqvarna. So I've got a Husqvarna pressure washer. My dad uses Husqvarna chainsaws on the wood lot. So they're whatever you want to call it.
He's not paid by Husqvarna, by the way.
Yeah, I'm really this is
he
not
just
paid.
really loves it.
This is not paid promotion. It's just I've got sentimental feelings. My dad went through so many chainsaws, and then he got paid double the price. And I like Ford. I'm okay with paying more and getting quality, and I also like Husqvarna. The chainsaws are 2-3 times the price of the cheap stuff, but you don't burn right through them. And anyways,
but this one is too much quality that if you
so
hit
much
something...
quality. It didn't get a ding on it. Its hot muffler just ripped right through and just melted through the bumper like butter. And maybe I'm a perfectionist, and maybe you'll say, oh, it's not that bad. You still have a bumper. Yeah, the bumper is still there, but we dug into it. So anyways, Robin O'Malley, thank you for and Ridgeview. And I'm sorry, I'd like to thank everyone at this point in the show. I want to thank all the subscribers, and I want to thank everyone who's come with great questions. And I also especially want to thank the members. But this is the point in the show where I'd actually want to say thank you to all the members. But Ridgeview, Robin O'Malley, Dr. Detroit, you're all in the house tonight, and I know I'm forgetting. There's probably 1 or 2 other members that I didn't see.
You saw M. Peugeot tonight too?
M. Peugeot, yes. He's always keeping me on my toes and adding and good information to the channel. Ridgeview, thank you so much for being an excellent moderator. We are blessed.
Like always.
As always, we're blessed to have you in the crew. So thank you all the crew members. Thank you to all the subscribers. Bring your next questions to next Friday's live. I owe her a little movie night. So take care, y'all, and I wish you all more cars and more power. And until next time, I do hope you get to put the pedal to the metal.
And
if
don't
that's
break
your thing.
anything.
Yeah, don't let us break things for you. If you want to see a door ding on a Bronco, go check out our Bronco video. Take care, y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.